Hello, Mr. Boosian. Thank you for hosting us. Today, the emergence and spread of viruses threatening the health and lives of people across the world has increased in scale. The downward trend is not yet visible. In this situation, thanks to large-scale investments made by RC Alliance, which belongs to the group of companies owned by Cigaron, and the joint efforts of experienced specialists in the Armenian food and healthcare industries, Aramax Victory was created, which is, of course, a world-class sensation. We know that Aramax Victory is a powerful immune system booster, and as you mentioned, the most powerful enemy of COVID-19, which turns the virus into a common cold. Please introduce Aramax Victory in more detail, from idea to production.
Well, thank you for interviewing me. First of all, it's very happy to meet you. I would like to start off with the inception of Aramax Victory and why we started working on such a large-scale project which has costed us significant financial investments and significant resources to be put into it. It's my belief that in this world, in difficult times, it's every powerful corporation's responsibility, it's our duty to contribute in any way possible in order to fight these major issues, in order to cooperate with specialists, which we did, with some of the most prominent Armenian doctors and scientists, in order to come up with a solution for this pandemic. And as a result of our efforts, our investments, and our tears, blood, and sweat, we are able to create this product, which you see before you, Aramax Victory Antiviral, and subsequently afterwards Aramax Victory Derma, which is a broad-spectrum remedy effective against a multitude of issues that mankind faces, such as DNA viruses, RNA viruses, and naturally coronaviruses. And thanks to our joint efforts, we managed to construct such a solution against such a problem.
Where and under what conditions were Aramax Victory researchers and experiments carried out?
Well, there's been many experiments and many researches done, but perhaps the most interesting one was at the Institute of Molecular Microbiology in Armenia, Yerevan, which was conducted under the supervision of PhD Dr. Zaven Karalyan, which you might have heard of, who has been prominent in the field of virology for many years. And first we tested our virus out on in vitro conditions on the herpes simplex virus 1. And I remember I was in Canada at the time, and then I received a call from Dr. Karalyan, who said, "You will never believe anything like this. I've never seen anything like this in my life. You'll never imagine what I just discovered." And then, well, I was very curious, and he said, "Herpes, I don't see any symptoms, any traces of it in 48 hours. In 48 hours, the herpes simplex virus just disappeared." And then naturally, Dr. Karalyan, he recommended for us to test this out further, take it a step further into seeing how it affects COVID-19. And so then we began our in vitro studies on COVID-19. And the results were the same. The results were 48 hours. The virus was defeated. Complete victory. Afterwards, we conducted our research in vivo conditions, and the subjects who received the preparation of Aramax Victory Antiviral, compared to the control group, they had significant differences in the way that they handled the virus within their bodies. For example, the lung interstitial damage in the subjects with COVID-19, the Delta strain, by the way, they actually suffered significant amount of damage in their lungs. But with the preparation of Aramax Victory, it's many, many times less. So it works very well on the lungs. And that's actually what Dr. Karalyan mentioned many, many times, that this specifically works very well. It's very effective against lungs. And the lung damage was reduced. Among other symptoms were the regulation of your body temperature. So your body temperature, it did not exceed about 37.1 degrees, as compared to, well, those infected with COVID who'd suffer much high temperatures, which is one of the most significant symptoms. Among other changes were the loss of weight that those infected with the Delta strain had shown. And with Aramax Victory Antiviral, there was a significant less there was a reduction in the change of weight. There was no weight loss, only about a couple of percent. And the lungs were very clear of the subject. It does so by triggering your body's natural response to fight against these viruses. And because of that, it has a broad spectrum effect, because the immunity, we know more about space than we know about the human body's immune system. And as it boosts it, it has a huge, very efficient impact on one's immunity and on defeating these viruses, on victory against viruses.
I would like to talk about the production process, because it would not be possible to create such an exceptional product without state-of-art technologies, equipment, and international certification.
Well, our technologies are all up to date. In fact, we opened an entire plant, an entire production plant, in order for this production to be realized. Because for such a mass-scale project, we made mass-scale investments and we got the latest, most up-to-date technology, which opened actually a workplace for many qualified staff who now all have employment opportunities.
The plant is in Yerevan, Armenia.
Yes, the plant is in Yerevan, Armenia, and for certification, we've received international GMP and HACCP standards. So our production process is all, it's very sanitary, it's also sterile, and it's not hazardous. It's completely safe for the personnel, and the product itself has gone through certification of HACCP, which provides proof that it is safe to use for humans as well.
The results are very impressive. In my opinion, Aramax Victory has great potential, which requires a lot of work and investments. What are your plans in terms of new experiments and research?
Well, as I mentioned before, the human immunity is more mysterious than space itself. We don't know the full potential of this remedy. We've seen many, many different kinds of results. And we've gotten many, many reports. For example, some customers' feedback said that when they were sick with COVID, they took it really well, almost like the common cold. As you mentioned before, that's an actual comment made by a customer. We're not aware of the full potential of this. For example, most recently we started conducting research on HIV patients. And we've already seen a boost of immunity in these patients. For example, in the National Center of Dermatology, it has shown to be very effective against skin conditions such as psoriasis, eczema, and neurodermatitis. We discover something new every day about this remedy, about this substance. And so as we get more reports, as we get more insight into its full potential, then we are going to research every field of it possible. We're going to know exactly what this is capable of doing. And we're going to perfect our product in every way possible.
I'm sure there is a great demand for Aramax Victory across the world. But I think that the needs of Armenia must be met first. Is your company ready for producing such high volumes? And what are your plans in this regard?
Well, we've released it in Armenia because we believe that it must reach our population first, the nearest population. And we released it yesterday, actually, into Armenia. And we're already in talks with China, with Russia, and with the United States, who are very interested in receiving our product as well. I believe that after this difficult time, after the war, after the pandemic, that us Armenians, we need something to lift us up. We need a feeling of victory, you know. We need something which we can grab onto, which can lift all of us up. And that's the goal here, so that we actually face some kind of victory and get a spiral moving so that we move up and up and up. And I want every single Armenian to know that we are capable of rising up from our own ashes like a phoenix and to move forward. And at the same time, I want the result of this was Aramax Victory, all of our tears and blood and sweat. And Aramax Victory will be available to every man, every woman, and every child of every nationality at the same time. Everyone who's in need of it, everyone who has a sickness, everyone who wants to improve their health or their immunity, it will be available to everyone in the end.
Thank you for this humane act of investing in such a product, and we wish you victory against all viruses.
Thank you. To our victory.